Welcome to She Rises Up podcast with Gemma and Lara. We are multi-award winning international coaches, authors and speakers specialized in women's empowerment and conscious leadership for women. Here we want to empower, uplift and elevate you with conscious conversations aimed to unify femininity, business and consciousness.
Welcome, ladies, to a new episode of our podcast, She Who Rises Up. Today is episode 11, which is actually an angelic number, right? It's considered a master number, in fact, representing enlightenment and awakening. So let's start producing whatever needs to come through with the energy of that, of enlightenment and awakening. We will start the show today with us sharing some of the lessons and key insights that we've had in between recording these podcasts, with the intention to accelerate your growth, and also to, of course, to empower, uplift, and elevate you, which is the core message, the core reason, the core vision that we have for this podcast. We also believe that if something resonates with you, it means that it's yours. And it also means that you will be able to fast track your evolution this way. It's like very much like having a mentor, right? And for the second part of the podcast, we of course have some cards that we have picked for you with the guidance, with the message, and we hope that you resonate with it and also embrace the lesson and the message that is coming through for you to reflect on and hopefully also to practice. Right, and it's time now to welcome my co-host Gemma. Hello, Gemma.
Hi Lara, hello everybody. I love the accelerating your evolution. Loved it.
And this is what it is, right? It's our conversations, the core of our conversations that we've had since we've met. Actually, it was very much like that.
Indeed.
Our growth and evolution. And when you were getting an insight, I'm like, oh wow, resonates with me. It means like, let me learn from your experience, right? Why do I have to go through it if I could also learn it from yourself? Now, of course, it doesn't mean that if I need to go through it, I will be going through it anyways, you know. Of the soul contract, yeah, it's about learning from others, right?
Exactly. At least you have a point of reference, and can remember. Hopefully, make your transitions and your processes a bit easier.
Okay, Gemma, I have a question for you. What would you like to share with our beautiful ladies about your key lessons, the lessons that you've had over the last 2 weeks, insights or remembrance?
Yeah. Well, it's been very intense 2 weeks for me. And one of the things I would like to share, I would like to start with a visualization just to explain the concept that I would like to cover. So for all our listeners, if you would like to follow the visualization and close your eyes and see what it takes you. So imagine that it's a beautiful day outside. You are by the ocean. Maybe you can hear it in the background. I don't know, but I'm near the ocean. Maybe you can hear it in real life as well. So imagine it's a beautiful day. You're by the ocean, and you fancy just going on a boat and going to the sea, and just go into the sea with your boat. So you do that, and you paddle through, and it's a beautiful day. The sun is shining on your skin. You can smell the ocean and hear the sea, and you're enjoying yourself. Then suddenly there's a little wind that comes, and you feel, oh, the wind is changing. Maybe I can change the direction of the boat. And suddenly the wind starts to be a bit faster, to be a bit stronger, and you have to do something about it. And suddenly the water start to move fast because the wind is getting very strong, and it seems to be a bit different now. The sky is not as blue, it's a bit darker, and the wind is getting stronger and it's blowing really, really heavily on the boat, and you're going from one side to the other. suddenly you lose the paddle and you only have one, so it's more difficult to paddle, and you start panicking a little bit, and you don't know what to do, because obviously you're not that an experienced navigator or whatever you call it. So yeah, the wind starts to go even harder. The sky is cloudy, it starts to rain a little bit, and you start panicking a little bit more. It's not comfortable, you're getting a bit wet, you're feeling cold, and getting a bit anxious, and suddenly the wind starts to blow really, really fast. The boat just lost control completely, and you cannot see the shore anymore because of the fog, and the sky is getting darker and darker, and you're getting more and more nervous, really don't know what to do anymore. Suddenly it starts to rain even more heavy, and suddenly you realize that the boat has a hole in it, and water is coming in from the ocean, and you cannot see the shore. With only one paddle you cannot really do much. It's raining very heavily, you really don't know what to do. What am I going to do? How do I get out of this one? How do I get out of this one? How did you get out of this one? How did you get out of that situation? What would you do? What if all you had to do was to stop thinking that you are in danger, that you are in the middle of the ocean? Just stop the imagination going. It's just an illusion. It wasn't really happening. It was something I was telling you about. So what has it got to do with anything? Well, the thing that came to me this week was that we co-create our own reality. And sometimes we get so caught up by the challenges we have in life that we forget that the only real thing that we have is the love that we are. And we get caught up in things like the visualizations that I just ran through. We seem to believe that we are in a dangerous situation, something bad is going to happen. How am I going to get out of this one? Without realizing that sometimes, maybe 9 out of 10 is just our imagination going wild and getting the problem bigger and bigger in our head, imagining what's going to happen, imagine how bad it could get. And all we had to do is to stop the dream, to stop thinking about it, and flow with life as it comes. My partner had a dream this week, and he was with me somewhere, and suddenly he felt some danger. He had to run away. There were people coming from all angles, kind of attacking us. He grabbed me because he wanted to protect me, but he got in a very strange and dangerous situation, so he couldn't protect me anymore. And he was conscious enough in the dream to realize it was a dream, and then he said, all I have to do is to stop the dream. So he did that, and he woke up. So that's all we have to do. Sometimes we get too caught up in the Maya, in the matrix, in the reality that we believe is real when it's not. And that's my experience this week, that we can always be conscious and decide that we are co-creating our own reality. And if the situation we are living is not what we want to experience, we can always stop, see what's real and what's not, see what we are actually exaggerating with our imagination, see what if there's anything that we can change by changing the beliefs, and realize that the only real thing is the love that we are. And by co-creating from that space of love, joy, and peace, then we can create the reality that we really want to live, not the one that the mind take us away from. That was my experience this week.
Okay, wow.
And it's so easy to forget. That's why I really wanted to share it, because, well, I call myself a conscious person, but yeah, I'm quite aware. But sometimes you forget. Sometimes you forget. I get caught up in the life circumstances. Do you believe they're real? And you get lost. You get lost in them. And that's exactly what happened to me this week. And it's something that I know that I can't co-create my own reality. I can change my reality. Or at least flow with it from that space of peace. And I forgot this week, and it really affected me physically, until I realized, okay, hang on a minute, I am responsible for these changes, I take responsibility for the changes because I am a co-creator. I'm not a victim. This is not happening to me. I created this situation. So it's not what I wanted, but somehow I created it. So I take responsibility and flow through it. And let's see what I can do from this space of consciousness back into awareness and full sovereignty. So that was my experience.
Oh wow.
This
Oh, wow.
week.
What was coming to me now, it's also to honor our our human costume.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Mm.
That sometimes, especially as you are or we are going through the path of consciousness and spirituality, that we want to be so out there that we forget that
Yeah.
we're here to live also this human experience, and this is part of the human experience as well, right?
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
Wow, wow,
Exactly.
amazing. And I had two things I wanted to share with the ladies. The first one that I thought was quite an interesting one, and how the power of words can manipulate quite a lot. And the other one, it's something that I've been working on for the last 2 weeks. And since I came back to the UK about a week ago, it's been very clear, very apparent. So let me get started with the first concept. And the concept is culture appropriation. Culture appropriation. So it wasn't until recently, I'm talking about maybe a few months ago, that I had to look up what does culture appropriation means, because it says in the words, you are appropriating a culture that is not yours, right? And that is what it is. And this week, was it? Yeah, this week there was a piece of news that I saw on Instagram where apparently Kim Kardashian, a celebrity, American celebrity, has been. She got a backlash because in one of her recent photo shoots, she was wearing the sign, the Hindu sign, in her earrings. And so the backlash, they were saying that was cultural appropriation. And of course, I started thinking, I'm like, and so what? And so what if this woman decides to wear the sign? What is the problem with that? Right? So what I realize is that there are so many words out there that have the intention to be dignifying, that have the intention of fairness, or have the intention of justification, but the truth is not. The truth is creating more separation, right? I mean, what does it mean? It means that right now, I can't. So, for example, what's coming to mind is actually some of the best belly dancers are not even Arab. They are South American. So what does it mean that you know uh, um, South American women can't do belly dancing, or that Japanese people can't cook a paella? I mean, what kind of nonsense is that, right? I mean, why are we being so what's it called? What's the word? We too clingy to to things that are a complete illusion, and they are completely man-made. They are man-made. And not only that, if you believe in past lives, then this concept should go out of the window completely, right? Because you must probably have had many lifetimes where you've been part of many cultures and many races and many everything. So that was the first one. Now, I thought it was quite interesting concept there, that it's complete nonsense in my eyes, of course. And as usual, ladies, everything that we share here is coming from our perspective, is coming from the way we understand life at this moment of time. If you like it, take it. And if you don't, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. Now, the second one, it's very interesting. And that is the concept of punishment. The concept of punishment. Now, this is not a new concept. Of course, it's not a new concept. In fact, where do we learn this concept from? We learn it in our childhood, right? Most people get punished in their childhood. Now, punishment can come in different shapes and forms. It's not about hitting or anything like that. Sometimes it can come, from withdrawal, or from you're not going to do that now, And actually, when I was in Spain this trip, I have witnessed how a mother was punishing the kid by saying, "Do you want me to abandon you?" and I was like, oh wow, that is pure punishment, because the kid wasn't doing what the mother wanted to do, right? So, what is the energy of punishment ultimately? The energy of punishment is control and submission. That is what it is. I want you to be controlled by me. Hence, the reason I'm punishing you, because it's not about you being empowered. It's about me having more power over you. This is what it is, right? And of course, as we're growing, you start realizing that punishment is so embedded, so crazy embedded in society, in the workplace, in the day to day. You start seeing it everywhere. I mean, I travel back and forth, Madrid, London, and I came recently from Madrid to London, and there's a series of things that we have to do, with the current situations. And I kid you not how many times I've been threatened, quote unquote, but if you don't do this, you're going to get fined. What is a fine? Is a punishment, right? Do you know how many times I've been told in different ways and from different perspectives, if you don't comply, you're going to be punished. If you don't do it, you're going to be punished. If you don't follow the rules, you're going to be punished. And I'm like, oh my God, it's like, what is going on? And of course, what the realization came to me is that, yes, this is a deeper way of being controlled and manipulated by the higher powers, quote unquote, higher powers, right? And equally, what I realized is that this controlling mechanism is keeping you in your child state mind. Is keeping you in the child state mind. So what happens there is that if I haven't done the inner work, if I haven't healed any parent's wound, then that is going to come up over and over again, because all they're doing is pressing that little button, which is the child the traumatized child, and that comes up, and of course I'm going to comply, right? So this is what came to mind. So what I would like then to think about, sorry, Gemma, actually there was another detail there that was important that I shared with you a couple of weeks ago. And that was that, because of course from a philosophical perspective, we see it now, maybe from now on you might start noticing the concept of punishment, but also I would like you to start thinking, do you punish others? How are you punishing others? Now, I saw that flesh live in me a few weeks ago when I was in a situation at home and there was a little disagreement, and my inner instinct was to punish that person. Now, to punish that person, and oh my God, when I caught myself, I'm like, what is going on here? I caught myself wanting to punish the other person, right? Which actually is completely, it's oof, it's obviously, what can I say about this? And I'm like, oh wow. So that is my deep conditioning is wanting me to do that. My deep conditioning wanted to punish the other person. And of course I caught myself, and you bring love and you bring awareness into the situation to start healing this particular conditioning and this wound that you might have, right? So think about, how might you be punishing others? How might you be punishing others? Do you do it consciously? Do you do it unconsciously? Do you do it physically? Do you do it through withdrawal? Do you do it with silence? By saying something or not saying something, or doing something or not doing something? And start catching yourself. How do you punish others? And equally, how might you be punishing yourself? So Gemma, these were my two realizations this week.
Wow. I remember the punishing one that you shared with me, and I realized, oh my God, I've also done it. Didn't realize I did, but I also did it. I punished someone with silence, and that was quite cruel. When I realized it was very cruel thing to do, and I didn't realize it was a punishment until you mentioned it. And obviously I changed that because I didn't like what I saw. But it's so ingrained that I didn't see it until it was brought up into consciousness. So I wonder how any other ways we are punishing ourselves that we're not still aware of, and suffering from that. Wow. Absolutely. There was something else I went through this week, which is death. I went through death again, of one of my cats. The one that I had left, because I lost the other one last year. and she was my dear Devi. I adore her, and she passed. And as hard as it was, she gave me a month and a half to get used to the idea that she was going. Um, Her example was remarkable. She was sweet until the end. She never complained. I never knew if she was in pain or not. She was a remarkable cat until the last minute, and it's my reality that she came to me to raise in consciousness, and she left being the goddess that she came to be. But the realization is, once again, or more than a realization, the reminder that death is just a transition, that death is not real. She's as alive today as she was a few days ago when she was still here. Probably more, because she was very ill and she was hardly here. She will be forever in my heart, always in my mind. So how can she be dead? It's not possible. She's alive. She's alive in my dreams. I've been dreaming with her every night, very lively dreams, very real. And so that reminds me once more that death is not real, that is part of life. And how many people have fear of death? And to me, having fear of death is the same of having fear of life. Because sometimes we do things to avoid death that are actually preventing us from living a fulfilled and full life. So yeah, that was one of my experiences. And also I've been clearing my house, getting rid of old stuff from my parents, from me, old memories. And that was it was like a spiritual death as well, having a bit of an identity crisis at some point as I was clearing my house and stuff that have been there for years and years. And again, I realized, well, it's just stuff. The memories from my parents are in my heart. This stuff I associate with them is just, they're just things, and they don't mean anything. The real memories that we carry are in our heart, the love that we share with them, the good things that they taught us, the good memories, they're always in our hearts. So yeah, death has been very present this week in many situations, and the reminder that it's just a transition, that it's not real, and it's part of life. It happens with every breath.
Do you know, we've discussed that before, Gemma, privately, and I would love, maybe we may have said it as well on the podcast before, that I would love to dedicate one episode to the concept of death. It's precisely because of the huge disconnection and the huge misunderstanding that people have with this word, right? And everything that evokes in the other person. And what if actually it could evoke something different? And what if it was an opportunity, right? And a gift and a lesson and everything. And I've learned so much from you, from this concept. And I would love when is the right time, and when you feel you're okay to talk about these things, to dedicate one on death, because it's
let's do it. We've got in a few occasions. Yes, let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, ladies, so now let's move on to the next part of our podcast, and this is, which is very interesting and very much linked as well to what we discussed so far. And by the way, these things are they happen, right? There is no what's it called, manipulation, or there is no we literally picked the card like 10 minutes ago, or no, actually now 20 minutes ago, when we started started this. And it's the card is actually from a new deck that we haven't used before. It's called El Ki, She Who. And as a little anecdote, when we were looking for a name for the podcast, we picked a card, and that was the She Who Rises, and that's how the name of the podcast was picked, through a card, an oracle card. Now today's card is She Who Regrets. She Who Regrets. And the little words that come with the cards are battle, victory, and bitterness. Battle, victory, and bitterness. Now, Gemma, what would you like to share? When I shared with you that, and then we had another supportive card that we picked up, and that was the card of sovereignty. What would you like to share? What things came to your mind when we picked this card?
Yeah, but the first thing that came to mind is like, wow, this is for me. And reading the content of the card, one of the sentences there, it was like, never run from a fight, never run from a fight. And this is a circumstances, life situation that I've been presented with this week. And one of my positions was to, okay, well, let's let it go. Let's, yeah, from a space of peace, let's let it go. And then I realized, talking to my partner, that no, you can't let it go. You can't let it go. But first, you have to do things right. You have to at least show that you're still in the battle, that you don't run from a fight, that you don't give up. If you lose the battle, that's fine, but never run from a fight, because then there will be something missing. You will feel better if you actually fight for what's yours, or fight for what's your right. Another thing that came is also use caution in arguments, and that's also something that take for me. And it's something that I have to think about, because it, to me, is what about being authentic and also being cautious at the same time. So you want to be authentic, and we were talking about having a contract with our customers. We always have to have a contract, but these contracts are very, very cold, with a language that are very like clean. And well, as a person with an open heart, you want to change the words to something more sweet, to something that has a meaning. But a contract is a contract, and you have to be cautious in that. And it's the same with the arguments. We can be authentic, but at the same time, being cautious of what we say and how we say it. So those are things to ponder for me today after this card.
That was like, when we got the card, we were like, what is going on here? You know, because it was like so on point. Absolutely. And when we got this card, yeah, this, I mean, look, there are actually a couple of things here that is worth reading from the book that comes with the card. And it says, we all have disagreements in our lives. It is how we resolve those moments that define our future. This is what the book says, right? And it also says, how often have angry words been used as weapons before attempting to create peace, which also is very linked to what we discussed earlier on about punishment, right? How are we punishing others through that? Now, the words that are coming to me, rather than words, and actually let me go back a step. In the program that I facilitate, RISE, there is an entire module dedicated to conflict management, and and lots of tools and lots of really beautiful stuff that we share with our students. And of course, I get tested myself as to, Lara, you're teaching this, are you really embodying this? And I've been in this situation again over the last few weeks, where I had potentially one of the biggest rows I've had, over the last few years. And did I put in practice the thing that I teach? Actually, most of them, no. In fact, it went completely out of the window, And if anything, I need to thank the situation for showing me things, and show me things that I need to work on. And it was a huge mirror that was shown to me. So I'm very, very grateful for that. And it was actually, when we finished this row, I had to laugh. And it was actually, I was on my own laughing. I'm like, what was that about? Now, one of the things that was very interesting that I caught myself, it's with what energy was I showing up in that argument, with what energy? And this is one of the things that it's so important. And I remember one time where I sent an email out, and the response that I got, it was a little bit what I thought was out of proportion. And in fact, when I went to Gemma, I said, Gemma, can you help me out here? There's a situation that I don't quite understand. And she made me write down 50 reasons as to why I sent that email out. And it turned out that the real reason why I sent that email out and it caused friction is because of anger. I was angry, and that anger was coming through. So one of the things that's coming to mind is like, how aware are we with the energy in which we're showing up in those conflicts, in those conversations? Is it an energy of I'm okay but you're not okay, or is it an energy of I'm not okay you either, or I'm okay but you're not, or vice versa, right? And in fact, there is a book called the I'm Okay book that the ladies might want to check out. So that's very, very, very interesting. Yeah. And something else that came up at the back of this route that I had is that ultimately, whenever there is a conflict, it's because there is a lack of love, right? Somebody is yearning for love there, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, the person that I was having the conflict with, they were yearning for love. I was also yearning for love. And the deep rooted elemental basic reason as to why we were having that row, it's we both wanted love, right? Maybe we wanted love from each other for each other, and which I think this was the case. But it's like it's a yearning for love. We want love ultimately.
Wow.
Yeah,
that makes so much sense. I love that.
So some of the questions that we could ask ourselves, and we start wrapping up now, it's again, with what energy are we showing up in those conflicts, in those situations? What regrets might you also have? And now this is a very interesting point, the regret point, right? Because although I'm personally, I'm yet to regret anything that I've done in my life. I don't have the energy of regret. If something that I want to do, I do it, or I do my best to do it, or work around it. Having said that, I remember doing a coaching program a while ago where we needed to imagine that we were in our deathbeds, and we had to look back in our lives and what regrets might we have if we didn't change certain things. And I realized that actually there were a few things that needed some tweaking. Conversations to be had, things to let go, emotions to let go, different things, that needed to let go. Yeah, very, very powerful stuff. Very powerful stuff.
Awesome.
Any final thoughts, Jenna?
The energy of regret is not a good one to have, because everything happens for a reason. The decisions you took at any moment in time were the right ones. Maybe later on in life you see them from a different perspective as you grow in consciousness, but at the time, whatever you decided was made with the resources you had. So if there is any regret there with our audience, just use the power of forgiveness and gratitude for the experience, and get rid of the regret, because whatever you did or whatever decision you took that now you consider wasn't the right one, you did it at the time with the best intention and the resources that you had, and now you're different. So ensure you get rid of any regrets you have by using the power of forgiveness.
And in fact, our last episode 10, was about forgiveness. So if you haven't to that one, we invite you to listen to that one. Yeah. Ladies, it's time to wrap up, and the half an hour literally flies by. And I wonder if Gemma wants to say anything else before we start wrapping up.
Thank you, Lara. Just there was sovereignty, which is the card that came as what do you call it, as a supportive card, and it's such a beautiful word. And at the end, what we hear is to grow in consciousness, just to remember who we are, and to regain that sovereignty, that queen, king status that we are, God, goddess, whatever you want to call it, living the experience as a human, but from that perspective of being sovereign beings. So remember that, and grow to achieve that state of being.
Thank you. And thank you, ladies, for listening to our podcast once again. And we will see you very soon in 2 weeks' time. That's all for today, ladies. Thank you so much for joining our conversation, and we truly hope you loved it. If you haven't yet, please do subscribe to our podcast and also share it with other fabulous ladies so they could benefit from it too. If you want to get in touch, you could find us on all major social media platforms. Speak to you very soon.